Voting Theory Class 8 Video 3. In this video I'm just going to briefly mention some techniques for answering questions relating to tactical voting. Okay, so these are just some ideas, rules of thumbs and practices that you should do if you actually come across one of these questions in the homework or the exam. So let's just look at a typical example. Okay, so this is a typical example. It says the voting system is blah. It doesn't matter what it is, blah blah blah, it's some voting system. Here's the voting profile. Okay, I didn't write it all down, it's just like an example. And the question says, show that there is a way for B to win through tactical voting. Okay, so how do you answer this sort of question? Well, the first thing you should do is you should calculate who wins if everyone votes sincerely. So you should calculate the social ranking if everyone votes sincerely. Okay, i.e. if you use this voting profile right here, what's the social ranking? And you should hope that B is not the winner, right? Because the question says that there's going to need to be some tactical voting. So you should get an answer that looks something like D, B, A, C, or something like this. But the most important point is B is not going to be the winner. If you've calculated the social ranking and B is already the winner, then either you made a mistake or I made a mistake when I wrote the question. But either way, it's not a good situation to be in. So B should not be the winner. Okay. The next thing you need to do is you need to choose what type of tactical voting you're going to try and use. So decide what type of tactical voting. Okay, and here's just some rules of thumb. Okay, so if you have the plurality, then I recommend that you look at compromise. Okay, if you have 2-round runoff or the instant runoff or the agenda, I recommend that you look at pushover. Okay, and if you have the border or the Baldwin, I recommend that you look at burying. Okay, but this is just a rule of thumb. It's not 100% true all the time. For example, sometimes you can also add Baldwin in pushover. Okay, sometimes the Baldwin is susceptible to pushover voting, but I think most of the time you'll be in. It will be burying, which will be the best tactical voting to use. Okay, so depending on what the voting system is, you should choose the correct type of tactical voting. Okay, now that you've chosen your type of tactical voting, it's time to actually tactically vote. So this means that you need to change some voters' votes. And there's a couple ways of conveying this, right? One way of conveying it is by changing the numbers. So stuff like cross this out, write a 0, cross this out, write a 1. That's one way of conveying how you change their votes. Another way of conveying is to actually cross out the letters in the order and do it like this. Okay. Remember, when you do this, what you're saying is all 4 of these voters have changed their preference. They changed their preference from B, C, D, A to B, D, C, A. Okay. Either way, to be extra safe and clear, especially when you're doing homework and exams, I recommend that you write it out in full. So write like 4 voters change from, and what did I say? B, C, D, A to B, D, C, A. Okay, I recommend just to be extra safe that you write this out in full. Okay, so this will be step 3, or the third thing to do. And finally, the fourth thing to do is show that your tactical voting has worked. So, i.e., recalculate the social ranking. Okay, so after you've made these changes with the votes, after you've done your tactical voting, whatever type of tactical voting you're thinking about, you should recalculate the social ranking, and ideally now B will be the winner. You'll get something like this. It doesn't matter, but B will be the winner if you've done it correctly. Okay, because B was the letter I asked for in this hypothetical example. And this is roughly how you should answer these tactical voting questions. Okay, I think the point I want to get across, one of the most important points, is to really be clear. When you're doing these questions, really try and convey everything that you're doing to the reader. So tell your reader the votes that you've changed. Okay, because sometimes if people edit the table too much, it gets a bit confusing and it gets hard to read and it's hard to follow what you're trying to do. So I highly recommend that you explicitly tell me what you've changed. Okay, and lastly, to be extra safe, if you're really trying to maximize the number of points you get in exams and homeworks, state what type of tactical voting you're attempting to use. Okay, even though the question didn't explicitly ask you to state what type of tactical voting, you're more likely to get partial credit points if you write this. Okay, that's it for this video.